Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from rough and rugged Wyoming up here at the ranch. It's about 10:17 p.m. and we're just about ready to say goodbye to 2025. What a year. It was a year. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of downside. We were in a lot of valleys. And many of us didn't get what we wanted this year. Many of us didn't get a rally. Many of us didn't get the regulation passed that we wanted. Many of us thought that the bad times of Biden were over and that we were entering a new age of crypto. But one of the things about crypto is that it has to change, and we have to change. And we have to do different things, think different ways, act different ways, say different things. And ultimately, we have to go back to first principles. And we have to ask ourselves, what was the purpose of why we're here and what we do? And we got so caught up in the success that we forgot to build something that can cash the checks that we write as an industry. Crypto exists because it's supposed to change the economic, political, and social systems of the world. Crypto exists because it's supposed to give you your freedom of association, commerce, and expression back. And somewhere along the way, we lost our way. Not because meme coins are bad or NFT projects are bad or any of these things are intrinsically evil or wrong. Like anything, if you overdo it, it's a problem. But like most things, if you lose the focus, you lose the way. So I've spent quite a bit of time here at the ranch and deep reflection about, what this year meant to me and where I want to go and what I want to achieve. And ultimately, how we achieve the broader mission and what my role and place is in that broader mission. So to get this right off the bat, I'm not leaving the cryptocurrency space. I'm cognizant and aware that every single time I make a live stream or I say something, it gets misconstrued and negative articles get written, and then it gets amplified by trollish hate groups like Cryptocurrency Reddit. So let's just definitively put that on the table. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving. But the approach has to change. The reality of being a public figure and every person who becomes a public figure is that we start with a strong desire to become accessible, to broadcast who we are, how we live life. The experience is real time because we want to share with the countless thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of people that follow us. But then, unfortunately, that gets weaponized. And the reality is that the more famous you become, you have to become less accessible. And that's a sad truth that I've become aware of over the last few years, especially in these bad markets where people have become inordinately hostile and toxic. The thing is, it's not just about ignoring it. The reality is that because of my presence, my persona, and the way that people perceive me, there are groups of people that will never participate in Cardano or Midnight. And that's not fair to the countless hundreds of thousands of people throughout the world that believe in these projects and want these projects to be successful. So I have to always moderate my desire for accessibility with the stark reality that just guilt by association has become the standard way that people handle the world today. We don't ask, what does it do? We ask, who made it? And then we try to figure out what's our relationship with them. Do we love them or hate them? And if we hate them, what that thing is evil and wrong. If we love them, what that thing is must be good. There's no greater example of that than Trump coin, where many of us in the industry deep down inside knew that should never have been done, should have never happened. But none of the major cryptocurrency founders spoke out against it, with the possible exception, I guess, of Vitalik Buterin. And kudos to him on that. But the rest, they stayed silent. Not because they agreed it was a good idea, but because they understand that they can't say anything. They're public figures and you're supposed to be neutral and you understand the consequences of these things. And I just see no integrity in that. Either we're here to speak our mind and speak truth or we're not. And how can we assert that we have the right to run the world, that we're the rebels who are going to overcome the world financial system and build a better and new one, if we don't have the courage to say when things are wrong or we made a mistake. Cardano is the product of many of my personal mistakes and successes, some of my most brilliant and some of my least brilliant, some of my most heroic and most regrettable moments of my life happened during the Cardano project. And in reflection of all of that, especially on the new year here in 2025, looking to 2026, I always ask, how can I be better? How can I grow? How can I do things differently? And in every dimension, you have to look at that. So you look at social media, for example. I've outgrown X. So it's my farewell to that platform. And I'll turn it over to curators and AI. It'll go into silent mode for probably a few weeks to a few months as we build up that infrastructure because I have more important things to do. But I'm going to install the app and never think of it again. Outgrown it. I just don't have time anymore for that way of interacting with people. And I don't have time anymore to endure what they give. There's just no benefit to it. It's noise. I'm going to focus instead on long form writing. I'm going to focus instead on the AMAs, the live streams, and new forms of communication, new platforms, new media. Might even do a Twitch stream and talk while playing a game. I think kids today really love that. But you always have to be uncomfortable and you always have to have a beginner's mind. And you always have to look at things from a new lens and a new perspective. I want to always keep up with the times. And I want to always find new and innovative ways to communicate with people and show people that I have great ideas and I believe that there's a lot to contribute. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into deep focus. I'm in a product level and a level of specificity I haven't been in a very long time. Spent some of this afternoon actually writing out a specification for a ZKVM. I spent some of this afternoon working on adding privacy to intents and talking about chain abstraction and reasoning about how the different layers, application and permission and solver and settlement work, if you take it from a cake standpoint or a Nomia standpoint, immersing myself in the latest and greatest ideas of the industry. And you know what? I was happy because I get to create things. I get to build things. I'm happiest when I have the ability to construct something to share with everybody. And I'm happiest when I see people use that and it wows them. It's a magical thing. Every day I wake up and I ask, how do I build something 1,000,000 people can use? And then I ask, how do I build something 1,000,000,000 people can use? In fact, right now, right here, I have this pad along with all the writing, and I was thinking about the strategy for midnight over the next 5 years. And I said, how can I write a strategy down that will have 1,000,000,000 users and $1 trillion of transactions on the platform by 2030? What would that take? What would we have to achieve? What technology would we have to achieve? Where would we get them from? How many would come from the legacy? How many would come from the Web3? That's what makes me happy. That's what I enjoy. That's what I get up for, is to imagine that such things can exist and to find a way to make them exist. The other thing I love is working with amazing people. And I'm incredibly privileged over this year and the many years before it, throughout my career, to work with incredible people. It doesn't matter if they're president of my company, Tam Hassan, all the way down to an intern that we got from some university no one's ever heard of. Each and every person contributes something. And each and every person, when I actually legitimately have the ability to work with them and they take their job seriously, then that makes my day better because they bring something original and creative and new and different that I couldn't come up with myself. And it makes the chance of success, the chance of realizing our goals, so much better. So 2025 has been probably the hardest year of my life. I entered into it thinking I was going to lose a bunch of weight. I was ready for the bullet ant ritual. Sure as hell did it. And I had the courage to take my shirt off on the internet, even though I don't look so good. And I tried in earnest to lose the weight. But you know what? The stress and the biochemistry got in the way. And I traveled for more than 260 days. I was looking at my sleep scores. I averaged only 5.5 hours of sleep a night. It's not sustainable. And if I keep doing this, I'm not going to look 50, I'll look 70. And metabolically, I'll also be the same. And no amount of stem cells is going to fix that. So it's not lost on me that I have to make some changes in that department. So after Japan and after Hong Kong, in addition to not having that Twitter, I'm also not going to travel as much. And I'm going to stay either on my ranch or my farm, and I'm going to get reacquainted with getting back in shape and eating right. And I'm going to spend a great deal of time in calm reflection and just spend more time reading. There are so many things that I enjoy reading. There's so many books that I love reading. There's so many ideas that I love dissecting. Studied mathematics. My critics love to remind me that I never finished a degree in mathematics, despite the fact that I took dozens and dozens and dozens of advanced courses, undergraduate and graduate, and despite the fact that I probably have a library of 400 or 500 math books, and I've read most of them. And despite the fact that I run one of the largest research groups in the world with 168 scientists and over 250 papers, dense mathematics. Truth of the matter is that by a technical term, I am not a mathematician, but I am a math enthusiast, and I deeply enjoy, absolutely deeply enjoy the art of problem solving. See, mathematics, it's a game. It's a game where you have something that you want to be true, but you have to discover the path to get there. And people who love that, they're never bored, they're never alone, and they never have a bad day because no matter how hard it gets, they can always take a moment to think about one of those roads they have yet to travel and imagine if that road will get them to a place they want to be. The saddest days are when you solve your old friends, when you finally get there. The Japanese have this saying, it's called Yugen, Yugen. Alan Watts talks about it, as do others, but it's this idea where you ponder what's on the other side of the mountain. You can't see it, but you wonder about it. If you wonder too deeply, you ruin it. But if you reminisce on the potential beauty of it, it's a magical thing. And writing proofs in mathematics is much the same when you look at that. It's life in general. When you're young, you never see behind the mountains because you have never climbed a peak. And when you get old, it's harder and harder to climb peaks that aren't familiar to you. And you start valuing creativity and originality, and you start valuing genuinely new things. And that's where I'm at. I've been to 75 countries. I've launched cryptocurrencies that have reached a value of over $100 billion. I was a billionaire at the age of 33. It's not a brag, people. It's a consequence and reality of being very lucky and fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, to have met the right people, and to make the best of it, and never give up and work relentlessly towards an end. And I'm proud of that. But I'm also reminiscent on the fact that if I just do the same thing again and again and again, there's no more joy and excitement. There's no more originality. There's no more creativity. So what 2026 has to be about is it has to be about a year of returning to something new, a year of originality, a year of creativity, a year of doing different things, different ways, new approaches, different approaches. If I get there, then I feel young again, and I won't look quite so old, and I won't be so curmudgeonly, and I won't be so stressed. That's the journey. It's not measured in minutes or hours. It's not measured in days or even weeks or months. It's a journey of a lifetime. You just wake up with a mentality and you say to yourself, I got to just keep pushing forward. And even if I don't get everything done on the to-do list, I didn't do today, every now and then you get something done, and that's enough. And every now and then you have something new come along. I was driving one of the back roads with my brother. We saw that lightning had struck one of the trees. So I said, I've never used the winch on these new UTVs. Let's clear that tree off the road. Try not to get ourselves killed by snapback in the process. So you know what we did? We cleared it. Then we said, that tree That's like kind of a fire hazard just being right there, all dead on the side of that road. Let's go grab a chainsaw. Let's go have some fun. So we found a chainsaw, chopped it up. I still got all my fingers. I'm a lucky man. Didn't expect that, but that really is the meaning of life, if you think about it. When you look at the mountains, you smile over the prospect of what's behind them. And when you find the tree that's sitting over the road, you take a side quest to clear it. If you do these things, you have a good day. If you do these things every day, you have a good life. How many of you listening, and how many of you addicted to social media drama and addicted to the vices and the problems of others, can honestly say that you found a tree today, metaphorically or physically? And how many of you can say that you truly lived in the moment? Maybe you did, and you're lucky, or you lived a life this way. Most of you actually didn't, if you're being honest, myself included. And when I spend too many days where I don't find that tree, and I spend too many days where it's the same thing, got to make a change. That's what growing up is about. So when we look to the future, I think 2026 is going to be a great year. There's new faces, there's new ideas, there's new people, and the old people are a bit wiser, and the old people are a bit more humble, and the old people know how to work with those new people. So I can see a world where Midnight has a remarkable year. Cardano has one of the best years it's ever had. And I can see a world where our industry as a whole grows up and changes things. I can also see a world where we continue to be dragged down by greed and avarice. I can see a world where we continue to be at conflict with each other and we descend. But why buy into it? If that's the outcome, that's the outcome. Let's just choose not to believe that'll happen. And let's just choose to believe that the better angels will persevere. We want a bull run, we'll create one. We want crypto to be adopted, we'll create that too. At the end of the day, we're selling stories and hope. And if people bite, we create a movement. And with a movement, you can actually change the world. There's no reason why crypto can't be successful unless we as an industry choose to not make it successful. There's no reason why crypto can't ascend and get billions of users and be involved in everybody's life, everywhere, on every single thing, unless we choose for that not to happen. What's the alternative? Federated networks of banksters who fuck us every year and politicians who rob us every year. And they're going from one war to the next and debasing our currency and having a $338 trillion debt globally that's heading towards $500 trillion and it's never going to be repaid. And all of you are going to be wage slaves and you'll own nothing and be miserable as a robot eventually takes your job and you live off of UBI, table scraps of a trillionaire. That's the alternative. That's what we're going to fight for. That's what we want to live life for. Have some agency. The greatest con, the greatest scam that has ever been perpetuated on humanity is to convince the mainstream populace that they're powerless, is to take your agency from you, is to rob you of the ability to ask why, to say, I didn't consent to that, to say, I'm going to change that, to be disobedient to the unreasonable. It is unreasonable to sleepwalk into a system in the next 10 to 20 years where mankind is placed in bondage, where the few dominate and rule the many. It's utterly unreasonable to be told to work hard your whole life only to have everything you've saved become worthless as your money does. It's unreasonable to be told that you'll own nothing, rent everything, and your only existence is to be a slave to the few. These will never be reasonable things. And anyone who tries to convince you you have no agency in changing them is either part of the machinery to inflict this upon you or delusional. The purpose of crypto is to give all of us the freedom to imagine that we have the ability to make a difference. It's not to launch meme coins. It's not to launch NFTs. As magical and amazing as these things can and are, it's much more fundamental. It's to tell you you have the right to dream big dreams. It's to tell you you have the right to be a big person. I came from nothing. There was nothing in my background, my education, my connections that would have given me any ability to do any of these things in the conventional legacy world. I would have been laughed out of every room. And the same is frankly true of every single entrepreneur in our space that's worth something, that wasn't implanted by some bank to form an enclave so that they can perpetuate the control that they've inflicted upon us for generations. We came from nothing. And that's why I don't particularly care if I return to nothing. You can't take it with you. And it doesn't really matter if I go from broke to billionaire to broke. Doesn't matter. What matters is I get to look at myself in the mirror and say, I chose to do something different, new. I chose to be something different. I chose to not consent and to bring people along and say, you know what? We're just going to go our own way. That's what I'm going to do. It's how I live my life. You have to build, as Musashi used to say, that inner house. It was Rule 12, a book he wrote while dying of stomach cancer in a cave. Really what that was about, you have to remember, he was a Ronin. He was wandering around Japan, masterless, some days sleeping outside in the rain, some days sleeping in a stable, some days sleeping in a house, broke, going from duel to duel, thinking to himself, this could be the last day. So how do you stay happy and calm when you live a life like that? You build an inner house that no matter what the external circumstances are, you're happy there. And the core of that house is integrity. Never let people rob you of integrity. Never let circumstances do so. Have the courage to do the right thing, say the right thing, and have the courage to accept consequences when you do things wrong. My inability at times to work with people, my inability at times to get along with people, how I've treated people has created unfortunate circumstances for some that have limited my opportunities. Despite these things, I've achieved great things, and despite these things, gone to great places. But imagine how much greater it could have been had I acted differently. You don't obsess about it. You just don't do it anymore. You change. You move forward. You become a different person. You grow. Are we so cynical and pessimistic as a society that we rob people of the right to grow, to redeem, to become different? And what does that say about ourselves? It's as good as it's ever going to get. Enjoy your misery. Empathy and love and hope, some of the most magical gifts that we have. If there's any proof of divinity, if there's any proof of a creator, it's those things. There's no biological reason why such things should exist the way they do, but because they exist, they enrich and make life so meaningful. Some of the best moments of your life, and certainly of mine, have been in service to others and in love to others and empathy to others. As we look to 2026, we have to ask ourselves, do we live in a world of empathy and compassion and love? Or do we live in a world of hate, of cynicism, of pessimism, greed, division, the other? Where does that start? It starts with you, the listener. You can't abdicate yourself from it and say, well, I'm a loving person, but all those other assholes, they're terrible. Are you? In your own relationships, have you audited them? Have you added some objectivity to it? Most of you haven't. Be honest. Why lie? Why delude yourself? If you have, your life would be a lot better. I've certainly taken the time in recent months and years to take inventory and reflection on the good times, the bad times, the good interactions, the bad interactions, and ask myself too, where could I have loved a little more? Where could I have had a bit more empathy? And ultimately, how do you live a life where you have unconditional positive regard for everything and everyone around you? Because if you do that, people can sense it. And if they can sense that, you know what? It's hard to hate that person. You see it in Mr. Rogers, you see it in Bob Ross, you see it in some of these figures, and you say, those are just good people. And the road to become a good person is pretty simple. You just love people. Why I love being accessible so much and why I spent so much time on X and these other channels is I legitimately loved and love the community. There's so many good people there. And I'm sad when they pass on or they leave. We've lost too many good people. Pullman, Fossil, dozens of others that were friends. And they cared and loved about the things I cared and loved about. And it was really enjoyable to be able to see people for who they are and give them a shot to be able to express themselves in ways they normally don't get to. That was the magic. That's what kept me young, despite how hard it got throughout all the years. So I have to find ways to keep that going because I'd miss it too much. 2026, a year of compassion, a year of health, a year of building and restoration, and ultimately a year where we get to realize a lot of our dreams. RealFi is going to finally realize what we've been trying to do in Africa for a long time. It's long overdue, but I'm proud of the people who built it. Gave out 1 million loans over the last 18 months. 1 million. Changed a lot of people's lives in Uganda and Kenya. And to be able to bring that to the Web3 space, that's pretty magical. We finally launched Midnight. 6 years of my life on that one. And it's pretty magical to see that we still got some mojo. And Cardano, that's the year that Leo ships. It's the year that Hydra gets good. And it's the year that the community gains full agency as other nodes turn on and the decentralized governance becomes hardened. It's gone through several cycles, some crises, got to the other side looking strong. Proud of that. It's going to be a good year. If all you can think about is the price, you've already lost. Even if it goes up, you've lost. Not just at crypto, but at life. The beauty is that we have a community of dreamers, and the beauty is that we have a community of people that are getting their agency back as human beings and realizing they're not cogs in a system. They're people equal to the President of the United States, equal to the European Union's heads. It was people who went to Argentina and signed a constitution for Cardano. Not special people, not anointed people, self-selected people who woke up and said, I want to be special today. I want to matter today. I want to do something that matters today. Never forget that. Ever. I certainly won't. So it's easy to love when I see so many people who are capable and willing and able and have done such things. And it's easy to love when you live in such a beautiful world. This ranch is magical, not because it's big and expensive and it's got beautiful vistas and other things. It's magical because it's untouched by the world of man. And you get to see nature in its most raw and purest form. And it's quiet. I love silence. The older I get, the more I do. There's nothing better in life than occasionally getting a cup of coffee, climbing up to one of the mountains, and just sitting on a rock and looking out. Nothing to do, no goals, no place to be, just drinking that coffee and taking it all in and understanding that no matter where you look, if you choose to, you can spend a lifetime finding beauty in that thing you're looking at. The rock, the leaf, the vistas. It's nice to have a place that I can go after traveling all these places, after all the stress, all the ups and downs, the frenetic pace, where I get that cup of coffee. That's pretty good for me. So 2026 is going to be a year of change. It's going to be a different year. It's a year that we're going to get a lot done. And it's a year that I hope each and every one of you get to fulfill and live your dreams. And it's a year I hope each and every one of you get to see something new, original, and creative. And then you have a moment to take a moment to enjoy the beauty in the world around you. This ride is a one-way street. Doesn't last too long. There was a time when you didn't exist, and there'll be a time when you don't exist anymore. Don't squander what you have. Enjoy it. Enjoy each and every moment of it. And enjoy each and every person on the ride with you. They're pretty special too. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the fish. It was a lot of fun and a privilege of a lifetime. To all those on X, I will miss you. I still will receive reports on the news and various trends and these types of things, but we both know that's not the same. But that's okay. We'll find a different way to connect. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful new year, hopefully with friends and family and loved ones. And in any event, here's to 2026. 2025 was one hell of a year. Cheers.